Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
The understanding of the transmutation of the fields of the universe will become the new occupation of man. In a way, up to now, we looked into the skies to see the UFO. Mankind will look into the skies with the eye of the soul, not with the eye of the man. And universe and unicos is oyster. You got to understand that with a new understanding of the fields of the universe in motion, what we call energy, fields of the universe in the uniformity of the motion we call plasma, now has to be understood. Now has to be integrated into the structure of what we call life of the man in the space. We need to bring this change in, as now mankind has matured enough in numbers to be able to bring that burden of the change for the rest. You'll be amazed in the next few weeks and months how the drug traffickers will dump and try to make the dogs and the cats addict because they can't reach their bosses. And you do the same with your cat and dog, but just buy them ahead and put them on the line, the hours that is transmitted. And we have set our system that there is no hacking. Now you have to understand how to bring the two fields of your soul, of physicality, you will call the spirit, and the soul of the man, to work together. That does not need the brain cell, but it works without it, the way you shall do when you become a passenger of the universe, as your brain in this amino acid cannot exist. We don't have a brain between the earth and the sun. It's got to be part of the knowledge of man in space that sooner or later mankind will come to understand that the totality of the knowledge shared belongs not only to man, and is the right of every citizen of this planet. And it's the right of all of us to have access to it. We don't make a game of it, we make a life of it. Keshe Foundation is set to bring that change to technology, and we will have many enemies. Those who want us not to be there, and how they can bring that condition for them not to be. Try to understand what the emotion is. Try to understand how you create that emotion. Try to understand in what condition of physicality you create the strength with the interaction of the field of the soul that gives you that emotion. And then go to your soul and create the same field of strength that the interaction with the soul of physicality creates the same emotion. Then if you become mature to this, then it doesn't matter if the soul is the protector of the physicality or the physicality is protector of the soul. They work in a synchronized manner because they are both aware of everything. When you work in that strength, all the other souls and physicalities work on the same strength, then man shall not lie, man shall not cheat, man shall not kill, because I'm hungry, I need fields, and I'm given fields. It's got to be understood by majority of the people. And gradually, but all from the point of the first education, what it means to live with the soul, and what it means the existence of the spirit or the dimension of physicality. Our children will be educated to the knowledge of the universe from birth, the way they inherited the X chromosome and became paralyzed and become all the diseases they caught. It's just the energy and emotion which has brought that change. So the same shall be when the man understands this as a childhood, within the father's and mother's energy fields that has no X chromosome or Y. When the children of the man are created from the fields of the soul of the man, man shall bring no imperfect child to this world. That time has come. And that time is amongst us. And it's the time for us to bring it. In a coming time, in a very, very short time, as we are working in the background and development of technologies, as our team have to understand it, there'll be no room for vaccination. We transfer the energy of what we call the virus, which your body of dimension of physicality could be a virus on this planet, but on another planet or position in the universe is your food, to understand the transmutation from position to position. So you do come to the point that if you want to have a measles protection, you put your child this channel, this time allows this to be received as an energy. There'll be no ADHD, there will be no autism because of the mixture of the viruses and the injections of fake ways they do deliver to them. Now, gradually, your eyes opening up, the capability and the possibilities which is now is open to mankind. You go on channel 24 and you can have as much apple as you like, but you won't pull an apple, you won't kill an apple. You want to have a lamb, you go on channel 26, you get to taste the food and everything of it, and you don't need to slaughter an animal. Now you understand how extensive this will touch you and how satellites are needed, because the electronic satellites have a limitation of physicality. We need the soul satellite, which is of the same and transmute the same and is there to give and to exist. I made man in the image of myself. Is our creator ADHD? or is he a drug addict? None. And so should be the man. Now the man has the knowledge. And this is the cornerstones of the teaching. This is the cornerstones of understanding the embodiment of the cosmic rays, the soul, the ganses, and everything else which goes with it. What will be the next step for you to understand the strength of the cosmic rays? Which one you need, which one you don't need. How do you attract it to yourself, and how you reject some because you don't need it even though they're on target. Very soon, once we start these systems to go public for you to tap into, you will tell us how you feel. You will tell us, today I didn't eat, not interested. Because today I receive what I need as energy through all the channels which is set up by Keshe Foundation. We govern the planet, not pieces of land. We govern through the soul and technology and knowledge, not by the gun policy and whatever sits with it. We need your support to be able to bring that change scientifically, correctly, and with the process and understanding of the whole lot, that we do not bring the change by wars, we bring change by love and creation of new country. I hope you understand what's on the table today and what is the part of the teaching. The main topic and the main objective of today is you do not need intermediaries. And nobody can protect the right of the Creator when themselves are abusers of the name of the Creator in the name of Ayatollah and the rest of it. I hope you understood the teaching of today. It has come to an end, and you understand scientifically why to the abuse of the man by the religion. Unless you enjoy an intermediary because you still think, I haven't found either, so I double in weaknesses of my own lack of understanding. Look to understand, try to find out the knowledge, and at the same time try to be precise, that you don't need another intermediary. You understand the knowledge that there is no need for intermediary anywhere in the universe. Always said, my message hasn't changed. It's for you to understand and mature to. When I said to the professors at Jeddah University in early 2012-13, when they wanted to send a student to the KF SSI, in which direction do you get your student to pray and bend when it's traveling the span of the universe and the earth is rotating and they're upside down and they're in different part of the universe which rotates itself? Where do you find your God to pray to, unless your God is within you, understanding the conduct? The message has not changed. And the technology and the knowledge has not changed. We just explain more of it that you understand it more freely.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 529th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, March 14th, 2024. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute, Education Department, and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be your host once again in this weekly series of continuous workshops for over 10 years now. And once again, we are joined with Mr. Mehran Keshe, who's been there for every single one of those workshops. And thank you, Mr. Keshe, for being here once again. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers programs from Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute. And as usual, we welcome you back. Today, we are considering and looking back at how technology develops and how man understands more and more, and how we become to understand more of the science of the physicality, but at the same time, we understand the science of not only matter state, but the energy state. In the teachings of the past few weeks, we're building it up for you to understand more and more. We spoke about what we call cosmic fields and cosmic rays, and what's the difference? How do we understand which one is which, and how do we associate our work with in respect to the other? In a way, if we, as knowledge seekers, understood, and as good students of the School of the Man, studied the world of physics, we talk about the neutron, and we talk about then hydrogen. Which means neutron is just individuality, and then hydrogen, which is the split nuclear decay, what we call fundamental division of the fundamental elements of the energy pack into two to sustain its existence. And we call it hydrogen, which is one neutron splitting into electron and a proton. Now we change the name of it to an atom, because now is two pieces. Then we play all sorts of games with it. We put another neutron with it. We call it deuterium, and then we push in another neutron, and we call the same deuterium because it's got one electron in it. This must be hydrogen. But different isotopes, different shape of it, different characteristics of it. So let's go back and see where and how we match that. We bring the two knowledges together. Don't forget, the life of the man today is a matter state. And energy state is considered when something falls, we call it potential difference energy. When something does something else becomes a jewels and become crowns, and we burn it. We find only material that we can burn and release the energy to be the power supply, like a coal, like everything else, like whatever you call it. And then we call it the oil and gas, we burn it. And then we got a little bit wiser, we found out we can stop some of these things moving the way they want, and we can gather the energy, and we became the brain of the humanity called nuclear physicist. Nothing but a hole in the head man needed. But it's all matter state. What happens when we consider now, parallel to this, the energy state of the same behavior? A neutron shows as a neutron, as an entity, as a man would like to call it matter state of, because it's conditioned by and forced through magnetic gravitational atmosphere of itself to show itself as a single pack energy. And we call it a neutron. But when you take the conditions of the magnetic field, or what we call atmospheric condition of this planet, from that energy pack we call neutron, now is energy. Does not have a name, now becomes a plasma. So, goes back to how many times in past 10 years I explained we choose too many words for the same thing. It's the same now. We have one name for two state of condition of the environment. Different magnetic field strength. And this is where our scientists, knowledge seekers, all are baffled. This is plasma and this doesn't make sense, but it's similar to the other one, but what's new? And what is the difference? Now we become energy people and not matter state people. So if our knowledge seekers understand that in matter state, we call it a neutron. In the environment of universe, where the condition of the environment magnetic field is different, we call it a plasma. Or we create that different condition of magnetic fields on this planet or anywhere else. So we don't have the tangibility of the matter to touch, but we observe the strength of the field. In a way, when we burn the coal and we get the heat, we observe the energy of the coal, but we just talk about the heat of it. But in fact, is the energy, is that coal which is heating. We state the same matter in two different conditions. Now we have to learn the same. We call a single plasma in the matter state of the man a neutron. But when we bring it in a different dimension, open the spaces of the universe, where the fields are weakest, so it can expand or it can narrow or decide the condition of the strength, we call it the plasma. Then we come to the point of ray and photons or fields, or whatever you want to call it, which is the characteristics of the light, we call it. Then use the name of atom, hydrogen, for the other one. Particles, they call it photon. Or is it a ray or is it a particle? Because now you had a single field or single plasma with a division of the neutron or two packets of plasma, you call it a matter state atom. Now you have a magnetic gravitational field of two, making it a new one, which now it gives it a bigger dimension, variety of the strength interactions, and then you call it and you say it's a photon. It can create, it bends with the light, because which one is, sometimes light behaves as a ray, sometimes it's a particle. Now, for the first time in the world of physics, we understand why. When it goes on its own, when it doesn't bend, because it's dynamically itself and interacts with totality, is a ray. And then when it's a combination of two, as a plasma of an atom, it creates magnetic gravitational positioning in respect to any magnetic gravity. So it has to find a position, and the science says, oh, light sometimes bends and sometimes doesn't. My God, you scientists never understood you're dealing with the atom of a plasma and not with a plasma singularity. Because when it's singularity, it finds itself, it's like a sponge, it dictates its motion. And it can keep to its direction of motion, and it's called a ray. So for you as knowledge seekers, today understand more than Einstein did, more than any other scientist in the world of science understands, What's the difference? Why the light sometimes bends and sometimes it doesn't? Because when it's the singularity of a plasma interacting, due to its speed, due to its position, due to its magnetic field strength, it follows the same path. It cannot be changed because it has common denominator of the light, the rays of the creator. But when it's two, they have to twist and turn to find a position. Then now they find a third thing, which is the magnetic field of the star or a galaxy or another atom, and they find a position in it. Now, you tell those scientists who tell you, how can you bend the light? How can you bend the light even 90 degrees and 180 degrees? Now you can explain scientifically what is the difference. And if our scientists, our knowledge seekers understand this, we have entered into the world of what we call plasma physics. Matter state of the plasma, or a plasma on its own in respect and interaction with its environment. Once you knowledge seekers understand this, once the world of science understands how much mistake he has made, and scientists like Einstein, who had no clue, but the bookkeepers would have never, what we call, flamed the fire of ignorance of the other scientists and become great to the ignorance of their own. Once you understand this, once you understand the change in the environmental magnetic field dictates the size, the shape, the strength of which part of a plasma to interact with the environment, then you understand in a simple way how gravity is created, the mystery of existence, how the creation of the fields comes to create separation, or what you call magnetosphere. If man scientist, the knowledge of man, is taught at the outset as the beginning of the time when the child understands what is what, and explain, my dear, my loved one, my existence with you, when you see something, this is the matter state. When you feel it, is the energy state. And the two exist, coexist, and always have existed within each other and together. Then it comes to the point of another ignorance, another what I call stupidity of the scientists who never understood. How do we create carbon? How do we create carbon 14, and how we create carbon 60, and how we create carbon 760, and the rest of it? If man understood the amalgamation of the two fields, one existing within the other, creates the condition of manifestation of the physicality in a crystal structure, then man understands the whole world of science has changed in understanding the condition of the plasma. In the world of creation, when we put atoms together, we call them molecules, and different molecules of different strengths create alloys. We cannot put one inside the other. In the world of plasma, we can. And the interaction of one inside the other creates a condition of manifestation of one in respect to each other, or the environment, which we call crystal structure, which means existence of a field within another field. And then how and where these are positioned dictates manifestation and interaction once the weaker is outside and once the weaker is inside. When the weaker is outside, it's the manifestation of electron and a proton and atom. And when it's inside, it becomes what you call life of fields with each other, and then a crystal structure of energy. This can be size of one energy of the plasma of electron within the plasma of a proton, And what is known as what we call the dream of the scientist, a fusion, or on the other hand, in the world of us, life, we call it transmutation. And then when the little pack of energy is outside and it's in the condition of environment, it becomes an atom. We call it the body of the man. When the soul is within and the physicality outside. So you understand, we are using the same language. But due to the lack of our understanding, we have created the mayhem between the matter state and Mr. Keshe call it the soul. Your ignorant scientists call it a plasma, they call it fusion, they call it everything else because they could never explain the truth and they could never understand the reality of the physics, how it operates. And then it doesn't become baffled. Mr. Keshe does feed this and do that, and he wants to transmute us and he wants to travel with the speed of light and beyond, because that's all it is. Just because men scientists are ignorant, we do not become whatever name you want to put it. Magicians, it doesn't work with the law of physics and everything else to reject it. Except rejecting their own ignorance of understanding the two states of the same plasmatic magnetic field, one in a dimension of man creation of environment, we call it whatever, reactors, and one in the condition of the matter state, inertia of this planet, we call it matter. Then if you understand what we taught you from the beginning, how the magic liquid was done, the KF liquid became the mystery of the internet for years. What is this liquid and the rest of it? Which you knowledge seekers now, it creates matter into energy. You call it a GANs. And then you, as knowledge seekers, because you can't see it, you're still in the doldrums of the same problem as the before when you had the matter. Now, because you can see the GANs, it's still matter state. My friend and my dear students, this is not the case. You have put it in a liquid which shows itself in another atmospheric condition of inside the bottle. But it's the same guy outside called copper. Now you deal with the energy of it. And this is where this science, where this technology shows to be something strange, and people say you're mad because you're following and talking about this. Because I'm not mad, you're ignorant to the knowledge of the creation, as simple as that. You talk about the matter state of it, I talk about the energy, plasma, matter energy. What we call in definition, energy is magnetic field in motion in the plasma science. Energy in the dimension of man is position dependent, potential difference, and the rest of it. I'm bending it, Mr. Jules as Mr. Stupid and the rest of it. But in fact, it's the same. And once you understand this, then you understand how in the world of creation, a single atom of hydrogen leads to creation of stars. How the positioning of another plasma in respect to the plasma which started it leads to creation of gravity, dictating the condition and position. And that single plasma which starts is the soul of the man who was born on this planet and has found its known position. On this planet, you are the physicality of man as you are. The minute you die, the minute you leave the physicality, the soul of the man, which is the dimension of the strength of the fields of his existence in the dimension of physicality, amalgamating into the central energy of the body of the man, you call it the soul, and whatever name you want to put it, finds its in space, and in that position, you start interacting with the environments and the fields of it. and creates its own atom while you are within it as a soul of the physicality, creating the crystal structure, the dimension of the energy of it within it. How strength? What's the ratio of the strength between the plasma within and plasma outside? It gives up 5 sides, 6 sides, and every other crystal size you like. You made the terminology for a man to show him I'm more clever than you, but we're talking about the same thing. I'm a magician, so I changed the name. You don't understand the study to understand. If I understand what I never understood myself, then I become professor, and the rest of the names were given to our most stupid people in the world. Now you understand. If we teach our children, if we teach our knowledge seekers from day one that this is the matter state in the inertial condition of the earth, and this is the same matter, but in the field strength of itself, but in a different field strength environment, then a neutron is what you call a plasma. In the interaction with the field of the universe, which itself is a bigger plasma field, it behaves like a ray. And if you allow it to interact with another one, and in interaction with the environment and the other gravitational magnetic fields, it behaves like a particle. Because one is 2 pieces, electron and proton, you call it. In the plasma physics is the magnetic field positioning of the energy of it. It has no clothing on it. When it finds inertia, field forces of the environment, we put a jacket on it. We call it a winter. In the environment of the space, we don't need any jacket. It stays as an energy. And then we understand how simple the world of creation is, and how easily man in a coming time will create magnetic field system, gravitational field system, which travel beyond the speed of light, because one is connected to the fields of the universe in an open plasma, and one is in a matter state. And if you're clever enough, go back to the first patent we ever put in. Read the first few inputs, entries of the first patent. We brought gases, we brought radiation, and then we created gravitational system. As the biggest company in Belgium called it, the first energy generating magnetic field gravitational system. Now you understand. The knowledge hasn't changed. Now you understand what was released 20 years ago as a patent. In the world of matter, we put the helium in, but in the other hand, we inject the radioactive material as whatever to change the condition of the environment, that matter state is not under the condition of the Earth's inertia. And now you understand how gravity is created. This is the essence of the creation in the universe. We don't bring copper and zinc and create the first seed of a star. We bring hydrogen and hydrogen and hydrogen and more hydrogen field strength plasmas that the interaction with each other in finding position in respect to each other, they create a motion that they bring more in, they become a sink, and then after a few billion years of man life, a superstar, a supernova, and whatever else you want to call it. And as I always said, if God is creating, if the nature of the universe creating 1 million stars a day, it must be so simple. It's so simple that man has become ignorant to it. So I can do the same. Now I understand the secret of the creation of these. Does not make me a magician, and doesn't need for me to be killed by the King of Belgium and the rest of the idiots in the name of religions. I understood the science of creation as a nuclear physicist. And those who are ignorant, could not understand it, do every game to play to abuse them. If you understand this, you change the combination of the fields. Instead of becoming a star, it's becoming a moon, it's becoming whatever else. It becomes orange juice, the beef meat, and the banana. Now you understand how much, how correct, how the science from the first pattern put out 20 years ago is valid. It took 20 years to open your eyes to the truth about what is written. Those days, I could not explain this. It took me 20 years to teach so many of you to understand the two state of the interaction of the field of the universe, one in a different environmental condition called the plasma, and the same thing in a Earth gravitational magnetic field called matter state of whatever. In a way, as I explained many times, if you keep a drop of water in the room, freeze the room, you see the water ice on the glass. Heat the room, you feel the steam in the room. Keep the temperature in the order of the outside, you see a drop. Take the same water atom, change the environment of its magnetic field, its environment magnetic field, not matter state condition, you'll get a plasma. If you reduce it enough, this plasma will take the shape of the whole room which is in, and you change and choose another dimension of field of environment with it, it will become a speck of dust size of the plasma. Then in this position, if you introduce another position of the fields within the room, it has to interact with it. Attracted to it, will come faster to the speed of light to reach it. Distracted, it becomes worse. Now you understand this knowledge because you are all the most advanced scientists in the world, and all your families and the friends, they ridicule you because they haven't understood. Ignorance is a bless. And those who are ignorant make fun of the others because this way covers their stupidity and their ignorance. We are no messengers of the blah blah, we are no religious group, but those who understand the essence of the science of creation. And then you put it in different environments, you call it, this is the Mars, this is Earth condition, this is the body of the man, you call it the soul. This is the middle of the space, you call it the sun. Choose any name you like for it. The truth does not change because you never understood the science of creation. Now you become the ridicule of all the people around you because they were taught by the same idiots, by the same ignorant people like Einstein. A bookkeeper should have stayed a bookkeeper and left the job to the scientist of physics to explain. I always said, the Americans doing their best to wipe out any connection with Van Braun. The hero of the American space technology became zero of the biggest killer man in the world of the science who killed as many Jews in Switzerland. They're trying to wipe his name from everywhere. Soon man will come to that point. Einstein should not be anything anywhere because he's the biggest criminal in the world of science. And if he wasn't a Jew, this ridiculous position would not become acceptable. The same we accept what the state of Israel is doing to the Palestinians. One idiot, and the rest we are suffering with it. This blood has to be taken off this land, that man start living peace in science, technology, and life. They have to do it in their own hands. And we always look at it. The science has to be knowledgeable. Respect of the soul has to be, does not matter what. When you have no respect, you destroy anything. The soul of the man, the intellect of the man, and the rest of it. Now you have to understand, we're coming to a watershed in the world of science. We are in the beautiful island of Sanya in Hanai. And in the next 4 or 5 days, we change the history of man in science and technology. Some of you will come, as I call, the same as you went out because never understood. And some of you will understand, will change the course of your life. Because you understand the difference between what you call atom and what you call a plasma. And then nothing will be magic. And then you decide the state of the plasma of your soul in respect to the plasma of the environment we create, and then you find a new position, New York, Mars, or anywhere else in the universe, instantaneously. But through what we call the emotion, which is the field interaction, you decide the place, the time, and the space, and that's what many of you have done in the past year and a half with new technology when you join us. Now you understand how simple the science of the life creation is, and how if one day man goes to the next step, will find itself in the field, the strength of the first line of the fields of the creation, what we call the creator. Then you don't need to see a light, and you don't need to see a fire on the wall and in the wood and in the bushes and God knows what in the mountain. As the light comes from understanding the truth about the creation and the created. The more ignorant you are, the bigger mountain and bigger fire and more stupid man you need to go and get lost in it to come back to say what I saw, and as you're ignorant, you accept it. Any of you who understand and understood the teaching, even this morning, you understand the reality of the light. That light is the light of enlightenment, not the bushfire and God knows what to whatever you want. And those who don't understand it have to battle with the bushfire and the mountain fire and the rest of it. And those who understand the truth about the interaction of the plasma of the creation at the time, place, and point, in essence of the creation of the man, the two fields of the interaction. One is the neutron and one is the electron, and the interaction of the two in respect to each other creates an environment which shows that we are in touch with each other, we are working together, we are an atom. And the same thing, we are the soul and we are the physicality of the man. Two plasma of an electron and a proton, you call it an atom. And how hard it is for you lot to understand, you call the plasma of a proton the soul of the man, you call the electron the soul of the physicality of the man, and you accepted that atom, but you can't accept your own physicality. This is me. As Arabs have a good saying it, astaghfirullah, which means how stupid you are that you don't even want to accept the truth. You accepted the atom. There is an electron and a proton. We call it the hydrogen. Oh, it's a sacrosanct of it. But, my dear, it's called the soul, and soul of physicality makes that man. Mr. Keshe has gone into religion. God forbid. You call it whatever you like. It hasn't changed the fact. Only those who see you're putting a stop to the abuse of you, understanding the direction of soul, which one you need to energize more, which one you need to become closer to, live in the dimension of the universe, you call it the soul of the man, you live in the dimension of the physicality, you go to the soul of physicality of the man, because it's both has pleasure. Somebody asked me that, if it's this, why do you come to Earth? I said, the beauty and the pleasure of physicality sometimes is so good that we would like to taste it. But we are still connected to the universal energy, which is the soul, which is the dimension of the fields without dimension of physicality. Who doesn't like to touch the most beautiful, gentle body? Who doesn't like to kiss the most beautiful lips of a child, to understand the love? When you kiss your child, the love you receive, how can you feel it in dimension of plasma? When you hold your lover and understand what you want to give, the whole of what's inside you to it, you can't feel that in the dimension of the soul. It's too energetic with those dimensions. Then you understand why we choose the dimension of physicality. Because then you can put a word into it, you can put the emotion into it, and you can explain it, what it is. Wasn't this the essence of the creation of Mitra? For man to understand the dimension of interaction and emotion of physicality? When Mehran was created as the first god, go back to the history of man, and if you change it into the Arabic, which you call it Ibrahim, Rahim at the end is the same as Mehr. That's why you understand how much everything is copied from the origin of the belief. Then that's all it was. He was alone and lonely. Then he created the condition of the two children, two fires, to show the interaction, the separation, the difference that leads to creation of life and love. And which one does he have to kill? The physicality or the energy that confirms its existence? It wasn't to be the sun you kill, it wasn't to kill a cow. It was to kill the prejudice of man in respect to confirmation of the two dimensions of life. Physicality or energy. And now the time has come that to understand, not to merge it, because they trouble between the two. They always change from one to another. Man never understood. Then we come to the next process of understanding. Then we come to the position and the time and the place where we will bring in the knowledge of the interactions, and man become a passenger of universe. Then man shall not kill, because man does not need to kill. I travel in the dimension of energy, I take what I want, and then I go back to the dimension of the matter state inertia. I am in a physical life. Okay, I don't need to kill because I already fed myself. Do you eat when you're full? And when you get it wrong, the physicality becomes sick. And then you do not know how to sort it out. You make it a chemotherapy and you do every other thing, except if you look inside to the dimension of fields, and then you find the matter state of it to itself. And then if you understand this, then you understand why emotionally we create most of our problems in physical life, where in the soul dimension there is no sickness. When you put two fields against each other, you have a mass. When you bring it in condition of environment of the, you get weight. And that environment condition, you call it emotion. And then how do you interact it? How you create that emotion affects what mass show itself. On Earth is lighter, on Moon is heavier, on the Moon is lighter, on Earth is heavier. Which way you want to do it, it doesn't make any difference. Because you haven't understood the principle of creation, everything else is a hassle, and what I call God-forsaken people like Einstein with the fire and laugh themselves. That is stupid, we do it. Call it Christ, Moses, and the rest of him the same in the soul dimension. Einstein used your physicality as idiots, the rest use your soul as idiots. Now you understand how simple the life of existence in the world of the creation of the Creator is. Now you understand why I start teaching you about cosmic rays. And we call cosmic fields. And what is carbon 14? What is carbon 60? And why do we have a carbon 12? Carbon 12 is for physical dimension of the man. Sorry, you accept the physicality. Only matter of carbon works in you. If you accept another condition, which is in a dimension of the solar system and in a dimension of universe, you call it carbon 14, which means you are a bigger strength plasma as an individual, not in a matter state as an atom. And then if you immerse this field, this whatever, inside another, you create an environment because it's a containment. You call it crystal structure, which means it's the field's dictating condition of. And if you rotate one plasma inside another plasma in a given specific dimension and fields, you will get that pentagon, the crystal structure, hexagon, and the rest of it. You don't believe me? Ask your scientists, go on the internet and see why in some of the pictures taken from the North Pole and the South Pole of some of the planet, we see hexagonal shape. Because the plasma of the two entities inside the two reactors create this condition. You see, by the shape of the hexagonal shape on the North Pole of the planet, the energy fields, the combination of the fields of the center of the core of the planet is. Because you are ignorant, oh, these are fields we do not know, but it does. Now you know. Now you know you're on the North Pole and how this crystal structure feels and covers the planet as an atmosphere. If you go far enough and you look at it from the side, you see the same crystal structure, the same hexagon. And then if you find in a position the condition of the pentagon, which is the conformation of existence of the totality, then you find how you can penetrate. That football I was teaching you. You understand, nothing has changed in my teaching. It's just that you do not understand the principle of the creation. Now you understand. And all those professors have to deny you because then they don't exist. And why do we need people like this to confirm what we know? Because we do what they cannot do. We achieve things they cannot achieve. And even us have to confirm our own subjects. They say, you have to prove it to me to accept it. No, you have to educate yourself to understand what I'm talking about. It's the other way around. And we allowed ignorance to run. We allowed thieves like Stephen Hawking to steal everything, to keep itself to itself till he came to understand his stupidity. You see on the screen, within seconds, Rick has found it for you. These are the most of the north side planets of the systems. Two plasmas inside each other. Crystal structure. Now, the science of physicality, now you understand the science of energy, what we call plasma, fits. This fitted onto me when I was 8 years old. I understood this. 60 years, I'm trying to teach man how you've been fooled. One day, I use the terminology of the name of Einstein in Farsi. I gave that name to him that day. Go in the alphabetical Farsi and find out what Einstein means. It's very simple, and that's worthy of that man. You have to understand the world of creation. We are getting so close to understand the free dimension of motion of the fields of what we call plasma to what we know in the matter state that will shock and shake the whole world of the science of the man today. World leaders knew and know it's about to come. They all talk about the new technology, new science. And the science is here. It's in the hand of you as knowledge seekers because you understand it so simply. And they'll bring the change. Because when you use the energy, you don't need to rely on the matter state. When you want it, you change it to matter. When you want ice, you turn the temperature down, you collect your ice on the window. You want to warm it up, you make a steam and the same water appears as the mist on the window. It's the same water drop. It's the same knowledge. You want to change the field of environment, you bring it to show itself as matter. If you change the environment of it the way you want, it'll behave as a field, as a ray, because it shows in that dimension. It's not hard to teach that from day one to our children in the school, to show them that man lives in the dimension of the inertia, condition of the matter state, or can live in the dimension of the fields where this matter inertia behaves as a field. But it's the same. Do you want ice or do you want a steam? But it's the same problem. It's the same amount of fields, magnetic fields. In the matter state, you call it potential difference, whatever energy. An idiot calls it MC square, which is a nonsense. Never worked that way, it'll never work this way. But we are stupid, we accept it because it shows we don't want to be shown as stupid. But on the other one, you define energy as magnetic field in motion. Because fields cannot have a different or a constant motion in different and constant magnetic field environment. They move according to what environmental fields allows them to, and if it's working on the lower field strength or higher field strength environment, I go faster or slower. I dictate how fast the speed of the fields inside my plasma are. Am I squeezed or am I released to expand? Then you understand the world of physics is as sweet as honey. The world of creation is physical. Does not matter in what direction and dimension. And you understand why we come manifest in the dimension of physicality to enjoy its beauty, because when we go into the plasma, it's just fields and emotion. Now you knowledge seekers understood for the first time. Maybe I should have taught this the first day I started the teaching, not keeping you going for 20 years and now the 10th anniversary of the public teaching. The reality is that we came in, we showed you how your matter changed to ganses, to nanomaterial and the energy fields. In Sanya, in next 5 days, I changed the course of history of man in science and technology. That we start to become the passenger of universe by the conference in Isfahan, in the beautiful land of Iraq. Some of you will come, as we say in English, you come in as a donkey and you go out as a donkey because you never understood what kind of hay was put in front of you to chew. And some of you come as a man and live as messengers of the universe, understand the process of the creation. And those who do not, they say, nothing happened to me. This thing doesn't work. Because ignorance is a bliss. And now you understand how your emotion controls you seeing, allowing the fields of your interaction of the body of the man with his environment. There is nothing more powerful than emotion. And that emotion trying to prove blocks you to see. And some of you come in because you understand, you understood, you have interacted with the fields, go to all positions from moon to Mars, uncle and auntie and everywhere else, and they understand and look at you. The guy's crazy, this cannot happen because it doesn't happen. Because your emotion is controlling the dimension of the field flow of the energy of a plasma, which is the soul of the man. Or you create the condition that the plasma of the physicality, the soul of physicality, controls, changes the environment that the soul cannot expand. The central energy cannot expand. Then you come to understand how much we as knowledge seekers have to battle these, what I call idiots of the science, ignorance of science, because they don't want to understand. They call it yin and yang. But when it comes to the science of creation, no, 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 no. We stick to yin, yang doesn't exist. And we are in China, and we have to handle so-called idiots of the science and technology as experts for them to show their ignorance. And no man likes to be ignorant or to be told he's ignorant. Now you understand that we are on the verge, we are on the eve of change of the history of man. Massive amount of systems have been shipped into China, into Sanya today. That even the people who brought it and put it together have not even understood 5% of the capability of what they have created to bring man close to their own creator. And in time, this knowledge will become part of the essence of the teaching of the man from the first day in the school of the education of the man. That no prejudices and no ignorance can be created. You do not to make it the controversial word of today. You cannot be this and you cannot be that because there is something wrong, and then you become racist and the other. The science of the man in the dimension of matter and energy or plasma or whatever you call it has to be taught in the first day of the school of the man. That man becomes, as part of his life, to understand which and what, and bring with its interaction the knowledge of the creation for the rest of the humanity. I hope today I open your eyes to the true essence of the physics, to the essence of the creation, and how man deliberately by itself has shot itself in the foot and wants to run the marathon of the knowledge of the creation, where 1 foot doesn't exist, which is one side of the science is not accepted, not understood, due to the ignorance. And from now on, we bring that change. And from now on, we show how that fundamental plasma leads to creation of the supernovas, and the foundation of that plasma leads to what you call the black holes in the brain of the man, understanding of his own creation. In Sanya, in the next 4 days, 5 days, we show technology in a way, nothing to see as a system, but to feel the energy, the plasma. And that's the whole purpose of Sanya Conference. We have not brought you here to see systems. We have brought you here to feel the energy, to understand the emotion of your soul. What feeling I have, which I didn't have before I entered the zone. What was my wish and what is my wish? Well, I'm in the zone now. And that is the change man has to understand. Otherwise, as I said, you come in as a donkey and you go out as a donkey because you came to see how green is the grass. What is the machine and what does the system? It's exactly the same situation as when I gave you the magrams. You plugged it in, 10% reduction, Mr. Keshe. You never understood. I gave you the most powerful conversion of the matter state into the field state. You plugged yourself to the bottom of it and you ignored yourself, the fields above it. And now it's time to bring that change. And now in the system, those of you who are in Sanya and you come across the system in the next few days, close your eyes to what is, what you see. Open your eyes, what you feel with the fields of the system. That is the purpose of the conference in Sanya. And this is the reason we have approached this point. Because in Tehran, and when you go to Isfahan in the conference of Iran, you fly with the soul. And then you understand it. And man needs that time of maturity in the next few months to complete the cycle. It's very easy once you understand it. And it's very hard and impossible when you want to force matter state conditions of emotion to fields condition of emotion. And once you understand the two are the same, how you play with it decides which one, then you become a true man of the space. Now, as knowledge seekers, I hope you understand why sometimes the light can be straight line and sometimes, as I said, you can bend it like Beckham. Because you understood the difference between the plasma singularity and the plasma as a what we call polarity, which is two of them. And now you understand what all those top scientists measured and saw refraction and the bending of the light near a star, because that light is made of the matter state of the star itself. But once is the same, and the other one is the what I call amalgamation of two. And this is the difference. The scientists of today have not understood the difference between the plasma as fields in motion as energy, or what we call as a field, which is a combination. I hope I have made you to see what I should have done in the first days of teaching some 20 years ago. But in a way it was fun to see when one of you will jump the gun and understand it. But not many of you have jumped the gun, and not many of you have found the gun to jump it. So I gave you the gun today. And any of you walks into the what I call experimental room in Sanya, and you still want to see the system, please walk out, because you're as ignorant as you came in. And those of you who come in to feel the fields in 4 different experiments we set up, then you have become mature to the next step of evolution. As long as you're looking what this system does and what that system does, you're as ignorant as when you came in from the womb of the mother. Nothing has changed. Just you learn some noises to make, to call it Arabic, English, God knows, Chinese and the rest. And if you walk in and you feel, you look for the fields, how do I feel in this position of the fields? How do I feel in that position? And what emotion it creates to me in different positions in the room, then you are maturing to understanding the process of the transmutation. Let's see how many of you are still making magrams in your brain and your physicality by the time you leave Sanya. Thank you very much. And I hope I have enlightened you the truth about the creation, or some of you already understood, but you couldn't put it in perspective and understand what it means and why it means. Maybe today we start the basis for the teaching of the next 10 years, as this week we already passed 10 years of teaching. Thank you very much, Rick. If you can take us to a break and we come back.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Very good. All right, everybody, we'll take a short break here and be back with the 529th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, March 14th, 2024. Remind our attendees there'll be an opportunity for questions, and we can allow you to open your microphone and have something to say if you wish, or you can post questions in the chats in the YouTube and Zoom as well. Okay, be back shortly.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
Okay, hello everyone. We are back again at the 529th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And because it's the second half, we do have a question and answer period, but usually Mr. Keshe has something he would like to say before that. And we do have something we would like to present briefly from the Brazilian Keshe Foundation. How would you like to begin, Mr. Keshe?
Oh, let the Brazilians have their say.
Okay, just that up here. So this is a message from Rafael from the Brazilian team, and it's regarding the Sanya conference. And what's happening is the Brazil knowledge team and others who wish to participate are meeting in the Brazil Telegram group at the same times as the Sanya conference. So on Friday, March 15th, that'll be tomorrow, and Saturday and Sunday at certain times, according to where you are, they will be getting together in the Telegram group. And the idea is to show support through intention at the same time that the conference is being held in China. So people around the world will participate by helping support it in their intentions. It was also done for the London conference, apparently. And he says many knowledge seekers from around the world had very meaningful experiences, and that all are welcome to join. So you can see the days and times there. It's also on Monday, I understand as well. Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. New York time, and from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. Central European time, besides those other times.
Where is the link they have to go to? They've done everything except...
Yes, the link is in the chat here, in the Telegram chat. And I'll put that also. Thank you, Raphael, for that. And I'll put that in the YouTube as well. That's the link to the Telegram group, the Brazilian Telegram group. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank all the knowledge seekers who are on the way, got stuck on the way, or have seen all sorts of obstacles, but they found a way around it to be in Sanya. And I hope we all gather together on time to be in this beautiful meeting. It's the first time the world meets China in such a way. It's the first time we encounter direct interaction with the knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation worldwide and Chinese knowledge seekers. And the organization done by the Keshe Foundation team is so beautiful. I was in the conference hall today and it's getting ready for the Saturday opening. And it's beautiful to see how much work is done and is there just to share knowledge and bring things to humanity. But the more baffling thing for us has been, you hear the Keshe Foundation in conference in Sanya, but you have to understand what some of the knowledge seekers have done to be here. It's been a challenge, and what they call the message from the Chinese authorities has not reached the airlines, and those who are determined to be here have bought 2 or 3 different tickets. They have moved to different airports. They've traveled halfway around the world, changed everything else just to be here for the conference, because the Americans thought, and the others, that what we call visa-free is what it says, and apparently it does when you follow the rules, but airlines don't listen. They have the head of their own, don't want to pay heavy penalties to the Chinese government for bringing foreigners in, and some of our knowledge seekers had to buy 2, some 3, some never got to the airport, they had to go back and buy another ticket, but they're all making it to here. It's a near equal balance of the knowledge seekers from outside and inside China. Chinese are more of this time, and it'll be a wonderful, what we call test of time. The purpose of this week, coming week conference, is literally bringing an end to the matter state understanding and moving on to what we call the next generation of life. And hopefully in Iran, demonstration will show what this means and how it'll be. And we hope to see in the end of what we call the amalgamation of the 2 sciences of the matter and energy in this, what we call, conferences coming up. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Again, a reminder, attendees, you can raise your virtual hand, and then I can acknowledge you and allow the microphone to be open.
There is something, sorry, something just came to my mind. A lot of knowledge seekers are asking, sending messages or whatever, regarding this material which we have put out and it's very hard to produce. It's a elusive material. And what is it good? What do we do? First of all, this material has been put in as what we call a space currency. You understand in the future what it means, what it brings in. Secondly, as it's a cosmic ray, those of you who bought a combination of them, in placing them in a specific form of formation, which you should have known by now, you create in that environment, as I was teaching in the first part, you create a new condition of the plasma for the other plasmas inside to show and manifest themselves. With the central heating in your room, you change the temperature, the environment of how you feel physically. With these, you open the spans of the dimension of the fields of the body of the man. You expand, or you, what they call, interact with the fields of the inner fields of the created, what is inside the man. And because it's a cosmic condition, you directly connect, or you're connected to your containment is part of the universe. These materials, once you understand how to use it, you never touch it, because you understand is a key to both dimensions of the matter and what we call field energy. You see them as the matter, but the fields of them is as important as they're seeing it. We don't have such a condition. And this is one of the most beautiful things that knowledge seekers and in the future mankind will find out I have ever given as a gift to humanity. Try not to look at its matter state, understand its position in respect to your dimension of the fields and energies. Walk out of the room with whatever intention or whatever, and walk back in the room where you put a few of these and you change the environment. See how your emotion even changes, and how then you can connect to the position on site. These new materials are not and will not be taught outside the foundation to be made. And some of you will give your life saving to hold a gram of it in a very near future. Because it's made, and it will be made in the position and dimension that creates that condition of interaction of the cosmic rays. Try and go back to what I always said. Don't look at the maggraph, look at the fields which it creates. Now with a combination of these, see what field you move into. I gave you the maggraph to feel the field around them. I gave you this material for you to feel inside the fields. We'll explain more and more about this material, and it will take us next 2 or 3 months for those orders which come in to be manufactured to be precisely what I want it to be. And then you will understand a new dimension in life, a new dimension in emotion, new dimension in what we call creation of yourself. The process is not easy, and the object is not mass production. Object is creating condition for so many of you holding that in the future you become the center of the what we call fields which you're working on in the coming time. Try to understand how you feel in the man matter state, and how you feel as a man in an energy state when you go inside it, when you're within it. And as I said in the first part, if you don't feel it, you don't understand it, you go in as a donkey, you come out as a donkey, and the donkey doesn't still understand as long as there's some hay. And hey is what? Hey is this. I don't get it. But some of you who will get, who will interact it, you'll understand. I hope those of you who come to Sanya brought your cups with you. And then you will drink from the what we call the field of the universe. We have organized 3 tables for you that you can leave it. You decide when that cup is ready for you to drink from the cup of the universe. And if you don't feel anything with it, God bless your soul and watch what's come. And if you do, then you understand the process of the transition. The whole process of work from now on is for you as knowledge seekers to interact with the fields, understand them, live with them, and know how the differences in matter state and the field state, and how you can use it to change one to another, and use it that you don't need to kill another. It's very much is, you go to mom's house and she says, I have a beautiful dinner, what you like, I cooked for you. Says, no mom, I'm married. I'm going to my wife, I eat at home. In a way, home is to eat from the dimension of the field of the universe, that you do not eat on the table of the mom, which killed the lamb, a sheep, or whatever, to feed. You understand soon what is on the table, and then you understand soon what needs to be done on that table. Bring your cups and see how much you understand, and how much you understood. Any other question?
Okay, from 777 Paulina in YouTube. Mr. Keshe, just wondering how the people in Gaza are responding to the plasma solution. And are many beginning to use it to feed themselves, or are the Israelis trying to block it still?
We will not talk about this. We're working on it. The system is running 24/7. And we keep it in that way, and you will hear soon about how it's done and how we're working around it. The process, more or less, majority of huge number of Palestinians know about this, and the system is set up totally different way. And we will explain to you very soon, because we don't want to run into a problem with those who think they can control everything. This is, as I said, we know our way how to get in, and as some of you know, or you did not know, you know today, the Iranian military forces have landed inside Gaza and are feeding the nation without arms. And soon you will hear more about this operation. As we hear, we see that they're in, as even though nobody could get in, they managed to get in, and they have opened feeding centers all over Gaza, feeding the Palestinians. They put their lives on their hand, because they even bombed what we call the transportation, and they dropping food. They killed more than actually they fed Americans. And now we've seen, and I'm sure you've heard, that the Iranian armed forces are within Gaza, and they have opened feeding centers. And this is what I call the white flags, which has shaken the Israelis. How did the slot? We blocked everything, we bombed everything, have appeared inside. We know how to appear, and we know how to work, and we know how to feed. And you will hear more about this in the coming time. There is something interesting which some of you have heard and not. If you remember, we will see very soon the end of the Ukrainian war. The reason for it is that the Vatican has accepted the defeat and has thrown the towel in, as we call it in the world of games. The Vatican, the Pope has instructed the Ukrainians to find a solution for peace with the Russians, as Vatican cannot afford supporting the war anymore. You used everything we had. And we will see, as is in the news, and as we were aware of this some 6 weeks ago, the Vatican has accepted defeat in fighting the, what we call, the Russian Orthodox Church. And for the first time they are defeated, but we have to see how they gather together and come back in a few years' time trying to do another, what we call, coup d'etat. But the good news is, as you, mostly all of you know, the Pope has thrown in the Tower of Peace and instructed the Ukrainians to accept and come conclusion very fast with the Russians that what we call, we can't afford sustaining this anymore. And we'll see an end to it, and it had partially to do a lot with the pressure from the European farmers who stopped the grains to be imported as all the Europeans nations literally filled up all their reserves as much as they could with the cheap, what we call, grain stolen from Ukraine. And we saw the farmers going on the streets and brought everything down that you cannot do this, because the only people who make money from what we call Ukrainian cheap rice or grains has been the politicians in the European countries and nobody else. And they robbed both. And when the Russians do it, it's a criminal act. When the European countries, they stacked up their grain silos, is nobody should know. But we saw the reaction of the farmers, and we'll see how this comes up and what the penalties needs to be paid by who in the dimension of what we call the things which have taken shape. There is a negotiation going on in the background that Russia is asking for a compensation. And this compensation is what the Americans, the Europeans and the Vatican have to come up with, are prepared to pay to Russia for Russia to stop. And this is a very big package, and we have to see how successfully they will go around it to bring this package down, because in a way the losses are too heavy for Europeans and Vaticans to sustain against the Church of Russia. It's just how much they agree to pay damages, what terms of condition will be, and it's another 3 months or so, we think, to settle, and then we'll see the end of it. But till they don't compensate for the war to Russia damages, and the whole thing which that they wanted is done, Russia will control the grain out of Ukraine, and that was the whole objective. Then the Ukrainians do the farming, grow the seeds, and the Russians dictate the price of it and they control it through what we call export. And we'll see the change. The Ukrainian war is over, as the Vatican accepted defeat, as is in, we understand, now is in public. Any other question?
Yes, let me see here. From YouTube, off script. Good day, Mr. Keshe. Last week you spoke of connecting with the collective soul for space travel. During transmutation while in space, that encouragement you hear can be our collective connection, yes?
What?
I'm not quite clear on that. During transmutation while in space, that encouragement you hear can be our collective connection, yes?
Encouragement. What is the encouragement?
I'm not sure what encouragement, maybe being with other souls.
You have to understand. You have to understand something very simple, and I was spoken about this a number of times over past years. Soul travel has and does make noise. We know this, and or call it dog whistle. When you blow a whistle, nobody can hear it, but the dog goes crazy with it. The owls hear this, what do you call it, departure of the soul, because it has to go through a physical body. It's the interaction of the fields. It makes that field. And owls are sensitive to this interaction of departure of the soul of the man from the physicality. So it makes a noise. So your soul, interaction of soul and interaction of the collective souls, when man becomes knowledgeable, will detect this noise. And in a way, we look for a fingerprint nowadays. We look for a soul print. It will not be very easy to kidnap a child or whatever, because we become wise to it. Science will become to understand this. We will use it as a fingerprint. You want a criminal, he can hide under 10 tons of rock and in another planet. It's there. You pick it up to his fields. That's why I said no man will do the crime, because it's not worth it. But there's nowhere to hide. And so when we travel, when we go to amalgamation of the souls as one soul, because of that's another teaching, how one soul can accept so many other souls. Then I'll teach you more exactly how it's done, the ways and how you recognize nobody can fake it, as we call it. Is the process of understanding who are the passengers of this containment. And that's another topic. Maybe in 5 or 10 years time we can teach, if we are still. Any other question? I wrote something very interesting to one of our knowledge seekers in the past few days. And it's what the truth is. And what in time you as knowledge seekers and the humanity will come to understand. And one day, it'll get to that point that we'll reach this point that mankind will be what I call collectively understand this. And not just for mankind. And it'll come to the point that you as knowledge seekers have to face what I call the truth. Have to understand that what is and what it will make, and how the future of humanity sits in this one paragraph. One day will, what do you call, you as knowledge seekers will come to understand how things work, how things are set up to be. And a brief of it. I read it to you if you understand the knowledge. I know he's listening, but it's a purpose, it's a totality of what we are waiting for and what will happen. And it's what you as knowledge seekers is not foretold, is planned to be. This is part of the message. It says, and then maybe I have achieved to save mankind, and then leave the rest to Mitra's daughter, to take man to deep space as an energy of the universe and not the body of the man, and with all its faults and problems. In a way, we are setting up the scene. We are completely educating the man to understand. And then that angel, which is the soul of daughter of Mitra, will take man with a new knowledge into space and a new beginning. And in a way, we have set the scene for a beginning of a new course and the end of the past. And we'll see how things will take shape. But it's not a matter of today and tomorrow will be changed. It has to be collectively changing every parameters. In a way, if you understand it as the teaching of today, as I said, we change the magnetic field of the room or temperature of the room to be the steam or ice on the window, and we change the environmental magnetic field of a plasma to show its new dimension and strength or condition. I create that condition for man to enter a new dimensions of the field of the universe. Then it's handed over to the most beautiful soul to guide not just humanity, but the whole of the universe into that dimension. And we'll see what will be the next step for how the humanity will go through this transition. And as I said, once I complete to take man to space, it will be left in her hand. And she's amongst you. And it's time for it. You will know who and where and how to take that next step. And yeah.
Okay, we have a couple of hands up here. John Wells, you'd like to go ahead first, please?
Fine, thank you. It's very interesting, Mr. Keshe, what you've said about the Vatican. And why did they have the meeting between the Pope and the head of the Orthodox Church in Cuba years ago, after never having met beforehand? And after that, the Orthodox head went over to Antarctica with 90 ships, Russian ships, to construct a church here in below Argentina, here in Antarctica.
Ask them why. You heard now America has claimed it to be their 52nd state, I think. And in return, the Iranian leadership has called, they're claiming it too, in a different way. And so, this is what I call part of the work of, depends how you look at it. They're building a church and everything else for what, penguins? Now they want to make the penguins religious too? Or as Al Gore said, he forgot that the bears are from the North Pole. So, this is part of the game of claiming properties in the future to be. And it's more or less, you know, and the situation with Vatican is more or less, the Ukraine war has bankrupted Vatican. You will see, you'll understand, because they were so sure they go with it. And they're more or less now losing. It's the first time Vatican has lost since the German time of Vatican. and how much more they're gonna, what do you call it? They're gonna sell, or in a way put pressure on the churches to collect money to recuperate these losses. Americans and the support of the Americans and the Europeans, French and the German, wasn't there. We are there to support Ukraine. They were paid for everything. Remember one point, and some of you, I think, few nations still are under that position. Americans, when they sent soldiers to Europe in the Second World War, every chewing gum, every shoelace, every socks, every shoe, every tank was valued, registered to which country is gone, and who used it, and what happened to it, and it became inventory of war, and they charged a nation for it. British till 1980s were paying still Americans for the chewing gums American soldiers had in Somerset. Till Thatcher sold the oil and gas companies and water companies, and from that paid the Americans off. All these rockets, blah, 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 you see in Ukraine coming from America, is all inventory. And Vatican has signed a check. And this is where the wealth will go into the part of the American structure, but not the American nation. So the Europeans will, or Vaticans and all the Christians will pay for this for years to come. And it's the same with Israel. You will see very soon the Jewish communities around the world will start paying the American government the debts, the guns and the battles they give to use in Gaza. American is an industrial nation, and industry runs on money. And no thing is done without paying money, because then it becomes very funny. So you got to understand, the Jewish community and wealthy Jewish people in the background have written and written what goes to Israel, and you see them bombing their way out, because they're hoping all these villages got to be built again in Gaza, and they'll get their money back. And this time it's not going to happen that way, because you will soon understand why in the next few weeks. And both the Vatican and the Jewish, what we call the Illuminati, and the rest of who is behind it, will Rothschild family will lose a lot of it, because they wrote the check because they thought they're going to make a lot of money out of it. But this time it's not going to pay back. So how Vatican spends money is trying maybe to find some gold in the South Pole that they can, what do you call it, compensate for the losses they received in the North Pole. And what they're going to do, how many penguins they can make to believe in their way, that's another way. And as children always say, Vatican might have to learn how to bubble like penguins for a long time for what they've done. Let's see.
I'm told there's a tunnel from Vatican over to Israel, and they've had an enormous golden bullion there, which has been taken away now.
I don't know. Maybe one day we know. They had 2,000 years to build that tunnel, haven't they?
Yeah, it's 1,100 kilometers long.
Yeah, but if they have found a way, they built that tunnel. They must have very much more advanced than the, what we call the British going on in the channel. But it's possible. They know the way to God, so He teaches them a lot of things to do.
Yeah, well, there are many of those tunnels going underground that we don't know about, especially the ones that start there in Area 51.
Oh, there's plenty of them between Tijuana and LA.
Yeah.
These ones are everywhere. Depends who wants to put their neck in it and do something with it.
Oh,
I'll tell you one day story. You're welcome. I'll tell you one story, not a story, a fact about these tunnels in Mexico. You'll be shocked, but we'll see. At the moment, we don't want to touch the, what do you call it, the white guys in the shape of the powder I'm calling it on the skin. The time will come. Any other question?
Okay, Antonio, would you like to open your mic and go ahead? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you, Rick. I'm trying to explain to people how this technology works with the mobile phone and headgear, headset. And really, should I be telling them that this is only a location device that you wear by having your phone?
It's what I this week in Sanya, we show a beautiful system. Nobody has seen it. It's just been put together in the past week, and I want to know how some of you, we don't allow anybody to sit in it or play it, but a few people will be allowed to go through it because we know what the test result will be. Explain to the people in a simple way. That's what I do, is that if you can transfer my voice to you as an energy, and it changes to you and you understand it, we can make package of energy and transfer the same as the sound. You might lose a little bit in exchange, keys, whatever, you might end up on the other end. If I use your communication line as, what do you call it, a finger missing, a little bit damaged. But with the use of the new communication systems, which we have developed, what we call plasma communication, everything will be intact. So if you accept, you can send my voice as an energy pack and the code 01. Now we have developed technology where we do the transfer of the energy fields. Your headphone, as you said, is just establishing the location.
Yeah.
It's easy. In Gaza, we have moved this to a new dimension. We try to keep it a way that does not come public. We have brought in a new technology to establish the feeding of people in Gaza without or with headphones. And I'm monitoring what is happening and how we collaborate, who we collaborate with. The way is the Israelis have found, I mean, they didn't need to find out, we announced it sitting on all our lines. They try to intercept and do a lot of other funny things. But as I say, I know how to play with these children. I played these games thousands of years ago, so they think it's still the time of Moses. The only way, you know, it's like wearing, you go to Yves Saint Laurent and you buy the most beautiful dress and you put it on a monkey. Doesn't change anything, it's a monkey inside, you understand? These people are in that state of mind. So they've been sitting around the targeting Keshe Foundation, and we have our own ways of doing things. And they don't have the technology, so it's what they call it, it's a dead end for them. And as they cannot see, they can't even ignorance. But we will, this is developed for a space, not just for Gaza, but we are putting a new dimension in, a new materials have been added to the central core of the support for Gaza. Actually, our team has developed a new system totally for it, to support and we'll see the change. But telephone lines is just a locator.
Yeah.
And
So-
the rest, once we establish it, one of our knowledge seekers, I'm more or less in touch with him frequently, daily, and going through the system. Since the first it was hard, now I just sit in and I connect immediately. It's just like the souls are connected.
Yeah.
And it's just a locator, because we're running different tests in the background, and it is very interesting how you have to understand. It's what teaching of today was about. We have developed the material side. Why should we ignore it? It's the same knowledge. One in matter state, one in energy state. Mankind has worked so hard to bring these mobile phones, communication lines in. So now we use and connect immediately. And then it just needs to fine tune itself, and you don't need the mobile phone anymore. You need, if you're thinking on the matter state, or you can use the energy state, which is now available.
When you're in space, how do you connect? So
Oh, that's so easy. That's easy. Here we have to rely on the atmosphere of the Earth. Outside, we're in a span of the universe on what I call cosmic rays, and no man is anywhere outside this communication. It's not just here because we have the satellites who go from New York to Washington, or we have our system in Austria, and new people in Germany or Australia pick it up. Now, instead of using satellites, we use universal lines in cosmic rays. And I have the knowledge to know how to connect, doesn't matter where you are. I can find you in the center of the star.
Is it because there's no distance?
Oh, no.
Well, time and distance.
It's a science. It's a matter of science of understanding the field interaction. I come from Middle East. I run the blood on one side from the Jewish side, and one side on the Islamic side. And my soul, my being is connected to the dimension of the soul of the area. And it comes from it. Do I need a satellite? By blood, I'm connected to the land.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We ask you to become satellites. I have become a satellite.
That was your purpose for the satellite system, for people to become satellites. Okay.
You understand?
Yeah, I did come in and then I went out again, and to come back in again as a satellite. Is that still open? Is that still?
Still always is. Man dies physically, the soul needs to stay.
Mm-hmm.
We opened the new channels of support in I don't want to talk too much because this literally screws up the head of the Israeli government. But we are deep in it, and you're in a deep heap of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just waiting for the world to catch up to you and the change. Then the change
we have
will come.
to do it. We have to do it in the right way, but at the same time, our right way should not become an advantage to others to abuse.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible, very, very possible. I return to Iran in a very short time, and we'll see the development of new technologies and depends how we understand it. And then we prepare the ground ready for what we call the presentation in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to have the work in China completed, and then we move on to the next step. And part of it is this. And then you understand when I explain to many of you in the past teachings that many of those who walk on this planet are not from here. They're aware of the operation of their soul. They become satellites for the races in deeper space. That's how it works. If you understand the process.
Yes.
So it's not just satellites for the one, but because the knowledge is there, it goes across the whole.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is the way we're working on it, and this is the way it's going. But what do you call it? Everything needs its time, and it cannot be just because we started 10 years ago. This is the what we call the final act, the final show, before the curtain comes down, before the new life starts for man. I used to explain this to my children in a very beautiful way because a child can understand. When we go to a show, and when the curtain comes down, we say the show is finished. But actually, if you think of it, the show has just started. Because what message did we get from that show that becomes part of us, become part of the way of our living, or part of our memory, which affects our life, or changes our life, or bring changes into our lives?
Yeah.
So, and when the
Like
curtain comes down, it's not the end, it's the beginning of a new, but with more people watching that curtain. It's one curtain comes down, but there are 1,000 people sitting in the auditorium.
Yeah. It's like the end of one age and the beginning of a new.
It's not one, it's understanding. Understanding that it's not prejudices, it's the ignorance we have to put aside. And how we, what do you call it? How we use this to betterment of our lives in both dimensions and the ones around us.
Mm-hmm.
Strange enough, anybody who came to harm the foundation, they got harmed themselves by themselves, through themselves. And there are many regrets in this, many regrets. And one day it should complete. And then one day it should start again. And this, as Freddie Mercury said, show must go on. But this time the show will go on by understanding the totality, not just ignorance and what do you call it, one-sidedness.
Yeah.
In today's teaching, I try to make it as easy as to be understood, and bringing the two sides together, that knowledge is understand. Because once you understand this, it's very much easier to transmute. It's much easier to live in both dimensions and understand it. Then you don't need to explain it.
Okay.
You don't need to explain it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, are you ready for some more questions, Mr. Keshe?
As the song said, are you ready for this? Are you ready? Yes, one more questions or so. We call it a day. We are nearly 3.5 hours. No, 2.5 hours. I have to be somewhere at 7 o'clock. It's 18:20. It takes me half an hour to get there. Okay. Give me the question and try to answer the last one.
Yeah, I'll try to select here. We have I think Regarding Malcolm in YouTube has a question. Mr. Keshe, regarding soul and animals, Egyptian Dr. Abraham Karim mentioned the animals perceive both worlds and sometimes foretell what's to come. Do they know when they are going to die or transmute?
We all know. We all know. It's just that we try to ignore it or say, oh, it's not going to happen. I mean, except accident, even accidents are already said to be, whatever, part of the whole scene. But as a human life and normal natural life, our body knows when it's about to go, when what it's about to do, and how little it needs to take before it goes. We are all aware, without the shadow of a doubt. It's just that we call it to the old age and cannot walk, cannot do this. It's just all preparing, gradually cutting the legs and arms off that, you know, just get me enough the last bit that I charge up to what I need to go. And no fountain of youth can help. And always said, if you know you're not a destiny, but you know you have to do something. It goes step by step, and it's a process we all know. It's not just the animals. The understanding of totality is, and how it is, and how our brain is done to identify the strength of the field of the soul. The more it clocked up, the more separation with the what do you call it, the soul of physicality, the more bits are stuck. There's a new research which has come out. It's amazing, this research, and it's opened up a new dimension, and even for us to be able to explain the work of the plasma. The scientists, in trying to do another research, they have in a way pondered on a new discovery which was never known, and now I'm sure billions of dollars will go into this research. One of the research scientists has been trying to look at the behavior of the brain during the sleep physically. We've never done that. They build a system, it's like a telescope, but you look inside the brain live. There's a lot of gadgets to it. But in a way, they, you know, the way you go to a dentist, they sit you up, but you go to sleep sitting up, upright. And they have developed this telescope which looks in the brain, actually exactly live. And what they discovered is that they want to know, they wanted to see the protein which produces Alzheimer's. They were looking for that, but they just fell on this new discovery. And he explains a lot of things. That our brain carries a liquid in it that our brain sits. And we say our brain has no veins. If you cut the brain is wide, you don't see any blood, so it doesn't bleed. But there always was we ignored it because we couldn't understand it, how this thing works, how this thing gets rid of its bits, and how we create a brain cancer and the rest of it. Now we understand a little bit of it, but it's fascinating what they found out. At the moment when you go to sleep, which we call the circulation of the blood changes, becomes weaker, even though it creates that's a weakening of the magnetic field of the blood. Not only allows the soul to be more freely expanding out, And now we understand, and we're implementing this into work of the Keshe Foundation with a new headset. That as you fall asleep, the liquid in the brain, in the half which is not working, is supposed to be on repairs, like opening a sink at the bottom of a bath, loses all its liquid. It goes literally dry. And the brain cells literally shrink, like they've been inflamed in the liquid, like a balloon in the water. They shrink. And in that process of shrinking, as this liquid going through the brain down, like a sink, it washes all the energy, whatever the cell of the brain didn't need. Now we understand how brain cleanses itself, gets rid of it. And when you do not have enough liquid or rapid flow, bits gets stuck, and certain protein in that dry time is like a leech stick to the brain, and this protein start the process of the Alzheimer's or brain cancer and the rest. This research is amazing, how much information we gathered about this research, and I'm sure leading universities now will go for this to find out, because we never knew that our brain, literally like a balloon, deflates, all the veins become like sieve, and the liquid goes right through it, washes all the energy, all the surplus was not needed out. There are two questions now the world of science needs to answer is, where does this liquid go? Because they haven't managed to find out the sinkhole yet. And then it gets filled up with a fresh water till you sleep next time. Then we have understood with this research and others which are following in it, that how crucial sleep is. The sleep is not so crucial as you need to refresh your body, is how much your brain gets washed and cleans up its mess of the day work. And if you don't cover it, it takes to do this because it's done in a synchronized matter. If you don't get 6 hours of sleep, minimum to 8 hours, you get all the problems of emotional and everything else. And this has opened a lot of things in the work of the Keshe Foundation Research and Development. And we understand this change. And the point for us is that the shrinking up or washing of the brain, at which point is the best time to put the headphones on you. I noticed this a few weeks ago, in past 3-4 months. Many of the knowledge seekers who come on these sessions, they fall asleep. And in a way, we're hitting a dry land. There's no water in the brain. Depends on which part of it's mainly because we run our sessions, many Canadians and Americans are in their sleep phase. And we hear them snoring. And we put them on the silence. But some of these sessions goes for 6 or 8 hours. We start looking at the behavior of the Americans, because we always catch them asleep. And some Europeans fall asleep too. But how much the soul is affected or behave during the dry time and the wet time. And how much and what kind of dreams become to reality for these people in that time. If it's the 4-hour session, we're looking for that 4 hours. Are they in the middle of 2 hours is when it's the absolute minimum liquid in the brain. And with that, there is no interaction between the cells, because that liquid is a communicator, connector for part of the system of the brain. And this research has risen a lot of interest for me to find the right time to put people in the machine the right way, and how much the intention of the emotion has to do with it. We are feeling you continuously with the fields. Does not matter if you're in Australia, in Palestine, in America. But how can you tap into our system to take what you need from it? And how our system is set to tap into the universal circus. Which means, doesn't matter how much we can feed every living thing on this planet, and it still be that little bucket. Because we're just channeling the fields to you. You want energy for 2 tomatoes. I don't have any, but because I'm connected to the sunshine, that's where all the energy comes. It gets tapped in. I never lose. I never become 1 tomato. I'm still energy of 2 tomatoes in my system. This is the way the new understanding of technology is taking shape. When is the most vulnerable? When there is no interaction between the liquid and the brain, is at the driest point that the soul rapidly expands. And is this why some of you click on and you're on it? Because you're so tired at the point and the brain has gone through drainage system. And is this why some of you, doesn't matter what we do, cannot get through you, because that liquid is so thick. It doesn't matter how we do it, how we play with you. And have you learned minutes of sleep than 4 hours sleep? These are the things which will come up. Now we're developing system to handle this. It's actually in operation. Some of you in Sanya will go through this. Because it was interesting. This is why in the test, in what you call it, past few months, those of you who've been with us, we switched the microphone out, we switched the microphone on, and I've been trying to understand how many of your sleep time are there, if we can see the behavior of those, how they feel and how they behave, what they talk afterwards. It's very interesting. This new research which has come up it brings a lot of things into space technology, clarified, and how we can use it, when we can. When is the best time to get the transmutation done? When is the worst time to do it? Would you like to do this transmutation in tsunami when the brain is getting filled up with liquid and you're all over with the energy? It's very interesting science. We call it the day today. Thank you very much for being here, being with us. And we'll see how things take shape in the coming time. Thank you very much, Rick.
Right. Very good.
Hopefully we'll meet each other next week after the conference.
So there won't be any broadcasting or information coming out of the conference really for the next few days? Is it a sealed situation?
No. I know some of the Brazilian asked, can you send us some pictures of the place where they're at? All knowledge is. We'd like to keep it as it is, the way it is, and as usual, I know we asked the knowledge kids to not send any pictures or anywhere from the conferences. But primarily it's for security and a lot of things that the people do with whatever they get in their hand. Thank you very much for today.
Okay.
And see you next week. I have to go. I've got a meeting at 7 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If there's any questions left over, you can save them for next time. And I'm sure we'll have lots of new questions next time around as after the conference. It should be a whole new round of knowledge and inquisition. Okay, well, thank you everyone for being here for the 529th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, March 14th, 2024. Our next public teaching workshop, let me get the calendar up here, will be on Tuesday, March 19th, and that will be with the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace with members of the Universal Council. And people are welcome to join them at the 4 p.m. Central European Time. And that's Tuesday, March 19th. Okay, thanks everyone. And we'll see you next time around. We'll going out with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit, music version, and bye for now.